Welcome back to my series on habit creation, on productivity tricks and hacks that are easily understood for anybody who loves horses, but especially those who do train for a living, by just understanding how we train horses and how that is actually training ourselves to either have good habits or bad habits. And as a summary, if you haven't seen the videos before, I'm Christiane Witt, and I am the founder of HorseBizSuccess, where we train you, we help you understand technology, strategy and marketing, and how to make the best out of your super busy day. So I am responsible for all of these productivity hacks, and so this video series is going through what at least, I'm sure there's a heck of a lot more, and we will be creating more videos, but 6 fundamental elements of habit change. So again, think about how many times you are thinking of habit change in a day because you train a horse. You do it all the time. You cut a complex behavior into small pieces. You look at motivation, you bring the rewards up, you stay on the threshold, you do all these things. You have a whole toolbox full of training tools that allow a horse to build an entire vocabulary, entire set of good habits. A well-trained horse is a horse that lives morning to evening based on good habits, right? And a lot of them we train. So why do we not translate what we train, the training principles of our horses? And this is not just all behavioral. This is motivational, cognitive, attachment theory. Everything fits into training our horses. But when it comes to ourselves, we often just say, I just work harder. I just work harder, or I stink at technology, or I hate marketing, or I'm just gonna get up an hour earlier, pick up another horse, and then I can make enough money for another month. Right? We don't think that what actually happens in our day is a series of either good or not so good habits. And if we created a family of really positive habits, we would in effect have time to be fully present, stress-free with our own horses, might even take care of ourselves and our families. So last time, and I'll put the links below, I was talking about what MIT calls a neurological loop, which was the cue, the routine, and the reward. You already know all this. You do this hundreds of times a day, but I'll put the link below if you want to catch up. But there's another piece that we need to understand, and that is motivation. So I bet you are somebody who wanted to create an amazing website, a website that allows people to come, visitors to come, read about you, reach out to you, pre-sold to your services. I bet you've been sitting down dozens of times to build that website that actually sells for you 24 hours a day. And as a matter of fact, I'll put a link below for a freebie that I have exactly on that. But, and here's the thing, I can give you all the freebies in the world. If you do not find the motivation to sit down and actually do it, none of the knowledge that I give you with this freebie does you any good. So let's look at motivation. Often motivation first starts extrinsically, right? So exercise routine. I know I gotta go and tighten my abs. I want to stay fit or be fitter. I'm gonna go now do Pilates 5 times a week. We know we should be doing this. But yet, how hard is it actually to do it? Because at first it's extrinsic. I want something outside of me. But if in effect I get into that routine, then over time it starts to feel really good. And I continue it because of that internal, intrinsic motivation, because as I do it, it feels really good. Think about training horses, gymnasticizing horses. Don't tell me that at first they're like super eager to go and do all these complicated things with you because they love it. Nope, they don't care that they're crooked, works just fine in the wild, and it's up to us to help them straighten and find their balance with the rider on top, right? But we also know, and we desperately hope for this, that as we do it long enough, it starts to feel good to the horse. And this is where the motivation becomes intrinsic. So one of the ways you can create motivation for yourself, and I'll have two more, is that you just set a goal, 10 minutes, 15 minutes short, and do something because you know as you do it repeatedly, it will start feeling good. And I'll get more into how you can set that up in other videos, right? That would be one. Number two would be that if you ask yourself the big why repeatedly. So there was some research as part of a military boot camp training that helped these boot camp participants, know nothing about the army, make it up even the steepest hill at the very end of a long day. And that was because they would ask themselves, each other, why are you doing this? Why are you willing to finish boot camp? Why are you here? And by reminding themselves in the middle of this horrible pain of having to go up the hill, they brought back the big perspective, the big why. So imagine you sit in front of the computer and you follow my instructions on how to create a website that sells. And your software doesn't really want to do what you want it to do. And you start to get frustrated and the tech overwhelm clicks in. Instead of getting up, which I described, in the last video, we get up and we go ride horses to get some more oxytocin. You sit down, you take a break, have a cup of tea or coffee, and you ask yourself, why am I doing this? And if you get my freebie, you can get a lot of reasons why you should be doing this. Because, a website like this looks fantastic in comparison to all the other websites within your area, because it pre-sells the perfect clients to your services and. Think about why you want a website like this. And then go and finish one little piece and reward yourself, right? So the why is a huge motivator. And again, research has shown that bootcamp participants, I think their completion rate doubled with this small strategy. So one, have a belief that what you do extrinsically eventually extrinsically becomes intrinsic. Two, ask yourself the big whys to put the small, difficult action into a bigger perspective. And then three, not everything needs to be super, super rewarding. And we still need to figure out a way to do this. Just think of trailer loading. I have never met a horse that loves being in a trailer or loves being handled by, go through veterinary procedures, right? Some things just don't have extrinsic or intrinsic motivations. Especially like a trailer. I can still see with medical procedures, we can use extrinsic motivation as a reward, food reward, whatever. But when it comes to something like trailer loading, it just sucks, right? They just have to learn to tolerate it and decrease the negativity as much as possible. So, how could you use that concept? Maybe this will never be your favorite thing to do to build that website. You got the big whys, you know where you should be doing it. You don't think that it's ever going to be intrinsically motivating and inspiring, right? What could you do to make yourself sit with it just a little longer? I find one of the things that I have really learned over the time is that, there's this meta concept of learning to learn, and we can learn to be more resilient towards difficult actions. Some things are just tough. I cannot like my taxes. Getting ready for my accountant sucks. But in the last couple of years, I actually set it up on my calendar within and I'll talk more about this in other videos, blocked off time, that I made it through it. And it was the making it through it that was actually motivating. That making it through something difficult in itself created more strength within me. So maybe you will never like the technological aspect of creating a website or copywriting. It's always going to be hard. But think about the motivation could be, I'm going to do something difficult because I learned to do more difficult things. And building a business is full of difficult things sometimes, also really rewarding and highly intrinsically motivating, but not always, right? So my call to action for you in this video, if you're interested in redoing your website, there's a link below here that you can hop on to get my very, very extensive freebie on how to create a website that sells. I call it the Extreme Website Makeover, and hopefully you have some fun and some giggles as you work your way through it. But two, from a motivational standpoint, you pick a habit that you really do want to change. You want to replace a habit that you know is not helping you build your business, have a successful day, feel accomplished at the end of the day, shorten your hours of work, and you want to replace that with the habit that seems a bit difficult, right? Challenging, not really that rewarding. What could it be that motivates you? Could you imagine that if you did it often enough that you could actually have fun with it? We actually have some clients that were completely tech phobic and now are actually like, wow. We have clients that say, yeah, I talk to my friends and they can't believe all this stuff I know. It became intrinsically motivating. They became kind of detectives. They became great Googlers. And now it becomes almost like a puzzle that they like to solve. Some others will never, but maybe this idea of building resilience will help you stick with something a little longer. And then ask yourself why you do it. Why will you want to shift something that has definitely not been productive for you into something that buys you more time, buys you more love, buys you more time with your horses? What is it? What is it? And ask yourself often, why? Why? And why?